lies.
We can't trust what's right before our eyes.
We need half of what you see
And a third of what you heard.
in between the lines of the written word.
The weak whispers,
The fake speak, treat the power.
watered down apologies.
With lead water.
Critical thinkers bring power to truth. This now fake proof with unspeakable truth. Unspeakable truth. Unspeakable truth.
Abari Ghani family. Everything we've been talking about has been leading up to this point. But I want to make sure that it's very clear, because sometimes we hear words. And we hear words like rebellion, a riot, a revolt, reformation, revolution. And sometimes we use those words interchangeable, and they're really not. I want to thank Baba Derek Rogers, because he really put me on to this as far as learning and trying to understand this. Because see, there's different stages to a rebellion. And what I love about all this, none is bad, but it's just a progression, because you know what they say is levels to this. So when we start talking about I understood the assignment, we want to see, do we understand the assignment? See, right now you're seeing this slide here that talks about rebellion, so 4 things. So as you can see, it says when there's a riot is like a temper tantrum. You know, people get upset and they burn up stuff and they want to make a point. But as soon as there's some type of police occupation, it dissipates it. Or once the tide goes down, you know, it's this emotional thing, and then it goes. It's like, remember the anger that Malcolm X talked about, the changes thing? It's like a temporary anger. It's like, we're angry, but we're not really angry, so we can go back. So a riot is here and then it's gone. But what it does is it scares the people, because they was like, uh-oh, we done sparked something. We want to be careful, because the next thing to a riot, as you can see then, is what? A revolt. And with the revolt, see, now this is a little bit more serious, because now we got some people involved. Like, look at the screen what it says, because it says now what we got. We got a quasi-political uprising. It's a demand for change, and it's some kind of insight, and the people can't get away with this quickly. So like if you see these other pictures that we have inside, you saw the Bloods and the Crips. Remember after Rodney King, the Bloods and Crips got together. They was like, oh snap, this is crazy. So they start promising all types of jobs. They were saying they was going to do something. They got people in, and the bad part was you get collaborators in who quench the fire and then sell the people out, because they give you these promises that never go. And so when you said, man, I don't want to riot, I don't want to revolt. So now we start to look at Reformation. And that's Dr. King. That's the bus boycott. That's Montgomery. You know what? Somebody's going to make a stand. We got Rosa Parks. Even though we know we had people before Rosa Parks, that was the time that they made the movement say the time is right. The people are tired. The people are angry. The people are ready to make that sacrifice. And with the Reformation, you say, you know what? We're going to change the system. We want to sit on this bus. And so the people do it, and they moved. And as we saw in Montgomery, after they stranglehold the bus, they was like, okay, we got to do something. So with this now, this is more mature, because you got a demand. You got a leader. People understand. But this is what we have to understand. What did Martin Luther King say? What is he most famous for telling Harry Belafonte? I fear I've integrated my people into a burning building. Because what we said with the theory of social reproduction, when we try to reform a system that doesn't want to be reformed, that's resistant to reform, that's built on reproducing itself, we're going to go through this time and time again. And so, you know what? After that, people say, you know what? Forget this Reformation. Forget this system as is. We got to blow this up. And that's where revolution comes. And people say, oh, revolution. Oh, look at how they did with that Reformation. Every revolution, when we talk about violence, people get afraid. But think about it. Even in the non-violence movement, there's still violence. It's just only violence on one party. People talk about Mandela, and we love him the same way we love Martin Luther King. But remember, he started off non-violent. But then the ANC started blowing up stuff. Literally. Because they was like, oh, we not like in America. We not the minority. We're the physical majority. We gonna change this. And so what I'm telling you is every violence doesn't have to be bombs and whatnot. But blood will be shed. But also, you can strain people economically. You can strain people in different ways. But really, what the biggest thing is when the people and the masses come together. So when you have a rebellion, see, that's when you have what they did in 1804 in Haiti and all the way up before. Because it didn't just happen overnight. This was like a season of preparation, of people working, of doing different things. You know, we hear people like Dirty Book, man. We hear people like Jean-Jacques Dessalines. We hear people like Toussaint Louverture. When we hear these great revolutionary people, we're excited for them. And that's the reason why America has all of Louisiana Purchase because they beat the French so bad, the people in Haiti, that Napoleon had to sell that and at a cheap price. So when we see that rebellions work, they do. We all saw the movie Amistad, and we loved when we saw our African brothers and sisters take a hold of that boat and then come to America, and then even to be able to get off to win in court back then. Oh my goodness. That's a rebellion. Because the revolution has happened. Now the question is, once the revolution has happened, how do we then create that society that can sustain itself in a healthy way? We don't want to replace a dictator with a dictator. We don't want to replace a tyrant with another tyrant. So as we go through these stages of a rebellion, what we have to learn from the people of the past is after they conquered, after they won, what's the next steps? So those are the things that we have to think about. If we do get our freedom, if we do get away, how do we then make sure that we can stay a sovereign nation that can be self-sufficient, but not only self-sufficient, but be bountiful and be beautiful for all people involved? We're going to keep going on this revolution talk, but I had to talk about what a revolution is before we get into it. We're going to talk about the steps and the things we need to make it successful. I'm the Blacksmith. It's been your Black History Month.
The destruction, the instruction, new construction, do something, education, vocation, emancipation, plantation.
Critical thinkers bring power to truth. Dismantle fake proof with unspeakable truth.
Dismantle fake